If you hear anyone calling this election a landslide, please stop listening to that person about elections, at least. We have seen landslides in this country, and they don't look like this election.
So if you thought that the delusional, crybaby liberal media could not get any worse, I'm here to tell you, you are wrong. So ever since Trump won the election last Tuesday, liberals have been in complete shambles, pointing the finger, trying to associate blame. Was it Biden? Was it Kamala? Was it you and I? Just bigoted, sexist, racists. But the talking point that they're going with now is one of the most delusional, pat yourself on the back, just trying to stop the liberal tears from flowing down their face point of views I think I've ever heard, which is Donald Trump's win was actually not a landslide. It was pretty close.
In the presidential vote, Donald Trump currently has 50.2% of the vote to Kamala Harris's 48.1% of the vote. But that margin will probably narrow after all the California votes are finally counted. And it is possible that Kamala Harris will end up with only a 1% of the vote less than Donald Trump, a 1% gap. Right now, she's at 2% less than Donald Trump. If you hear anyone calling this election a landslide, please stop listening to that person about elections, at least. We have seen landslides in this country, and they don't look like this election.
You can tell that these people's spirits are low right now. They're trying to grasp to any moral victory they possibly can to make themselves feel better about getting absolutely swept in this election. I don't know about you, but when you win the popular vote, the electoral vote, win the Senate, and you win the House, that sounds like a landslide to me. Like, who let this guy give this opinion on live television? And you wonder why nobody trusts or likes the mainstream media anymore. Because this is just clearly not an objective analysis of the information. This is clearly just a Democratic Party mouthpiece trying desperately to raise the spirits of their ever-declining viewership. Here he is saying how the polls were actually super accurate, even though we know that they weren't, and the race was basically just a tie. Watch.
In the presidential election, the final national polls indicating that the race was a tie within a 3-point margin of error are proving correct. Donald Trump currently has a 2% lead over Kamala Harris at 50-48. Anyone who understands what polling data actually means knows that that result in the election is within the 3-point margin of error of all of the credible national polls in the final days of the campaign.
And that's why nobody trusts polls. Because even though it was a landslide victory for Trump, these polls said, oh, Trump's going to win this state, Kamala's going to win this state. It's all within a margin of error, when it was a clean sweep across the board. But the pollsters presented the information in that way to save their credibility, because they didn't want to be proven wrong by picking one side or the other and making an actual analysis of the data. Instead, they just mixed it all together, made it seem pretty even, pretty much like a tie, and then gave this huge margin of error so they could say, oops, well, you see, we said the margin of error was this big, so it was still accurate in the end. And that's why I told people weeks ago, Donald Trump was going to win, it wasn't going to be close, and to not take the polls into consideration, because the way that they're presenting the information isn't to give people an insight into what might happen. It's all about how they can save face and still get hired for more polls in the future. This guy's insane takes are not done yet. Here he is trying to prove what a real landslide looks like and how Trump's wasn't that. Watch.
Bill Clinton's reelection was never in doubt in 1996. He won with 49.2% of the vote against Bob Dole's 40.7% of the vote and Ross Perot's 8.4% of the vote. Bill Clinton won by 9 points, and no one called that a landslide because it wasn't. The last landslide we had was Ronald Reagan's reelection in 1984, where he won 49 states in the Electoral College, with only the state of Minnesota voting for Walter Mondale, who was from Minnesota. Ronald Reagan beat Walter Mondale by 18 points. That's what a landslide looks like. There were two landslides before Reagan in the television age. Richard Nixon, in his re-election campaign in 1972, won 49 states with only Massachusetts voting against him. Nixon beat George McGovern by 23 points. But in both of those Republican landslides, Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, the Democrats still easily controlled the House of Representatives. And as strong as Republicans, Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, were in their presidential re-election campaigns, they couldn't come close to ever winning the House of Representatives for the Republicans.
I'm sorry, but did this guy just contradict himself or what? He said that Reagan and Nixon won by these huge margins, but weren't able to take the House of Representatives. But Trump winning the electoral and the popular vote and the House and the Senate isn't a landslide? I'm a sports guy, so to use a basketball analogy, what he's basically saying is, in his desperate attempt for some sort of moral victory, is just because we've seen teams beat other teams by 50 points, his team losing by 30 points technically isn't a blowout because we've seen bigger wins before. I mean, it's just coping. And these people were expected to win, as he said, while Donald Trump was not expected to win, if you let the liberal media tell you. So against all odds, against two impeachments, against false felonies by a weaponized justice system, against two assassination attempts, this guy won in big fashion the popular vote and took Congress. And you wouldn't call that a landslide? Again, this is not objective reporting. This is not unbiased media. This is partisan propaganda. And that's why their viewership is declining so much, because I think even their viewers are tired of hearing this nonsense. It was all good to hear all this slanderous rhetoric when you thought that you actually stood a chance of winning, and then to come to find out you were just completely wrong. So I bet their viewers are like, why would I even listen to these people anymore? Yeah, sure, it's fun to hear them call Donald Trump a fascist, but all the information that I'm getting is just purely wrong. And the reason that they're trying to say that it wasn't a landslide is because they want to have room to attack Trump's appointments. Because if they realize that the American people overwhelmingly voted for Trump and his agenda, then they would have to respect who Trump is putting in place, because he is trying to fulfill the promises that he made to Americans that they overwhelmingly voted for. So here's this lunatic attacking RFK, a Democrat who left the Democratic Party because they were all about censorship and not at all about democracy. Watch.
If Donald Trump tries to get Robert Kennedy Jr. confirmed by the Senate to any job, it would be possibly the ugliest confirmation hearing in history because of the number of people who have grievances against him, from women who have accused him of physical abuse to the mothers of possibly thousands of people who are dead because they followed Robert Kennedy Jr.'s poisonous medical advice. The confirmation hearing of Robert Kennedy Jr. would be a televised examination of a crazed incompetent.
It's just disgusting and dishonest to try to portray yourself as a journalist and then say things like, possibly thousands of mothers possibly lost people that they love because of Robert F. Kennedy's poisonous medical advice. Just say you're against the guy who's trying to make America healthy again, who's trying to stop all these child developmental issues that are ravaging our country because of the stuff that's in our food. Just say that out loud because it's what you mean. And when you say it clearly like that, it makes you look like a real jerk. And it isn't just RFK that this wannabe Walter Cronkite is attacking. Listen to how he talks about the world's richest man and possibly best entrepreneur of all time, Elon Musk. Watch.
Well, Elon Musk suffered a humiliating demotion tonight by Donald Trump. The theory that Elon Musk might become, in effect, a co-president or the real president, while Donald Trump, in effect, retires to a life of golfing, suffered a significant setback tonight when Donald Trump announced that he would give Elon Musk a job that does not exist and will last at most 18 months. And worst of all, Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, was assigned a working partner who, like Musk, has also never worked in government before. Donald Trump now just might know enough about government to know how humiliating this is going to be for Elon Musk. Elon Musk is going to fail miserably at the homework assignment Donald Trump has given him, an assignment that Donald Trump doesn't believe Elon Musk can do without the help of Vivek Ramaswamy. Why did Donald Trump insult Elon Musk?
This old gray-haired man is acting like a teenager in the way that he's trying to attack Elon Musk. Oh, he knows nothing about government. Good, good. That's the point. People from business actually have to understand how to manage and deploy capital efficiently. No one in government has to do that. That's the point of bringing in the world's richest man, arguably the greatest allocator of capital, to help run the government efficiently. Doesn't that make sense to you guys? Because it makes sense to me. And then to try to say, oh, why does he need a helper? Why does he need Vivek, who's not even a billionaire? Who are you, guy? Who are you? Who are you to judge these people, the credentials that they have, and then say they're going to fail miserably? Oh, Elon Musk got a joint press release. Why would he care? Why would he care? It's only people like this guy, this fake Walter Cronkite, whose ego is so wrapped up in a press release that he would care. You know why Elon Musk is sharing this position with Vivek? Because if Elon Musk took an official government role, he would have to divest from his businesses. So instead, Vivek can have an official government role. Elon Musk doesn't have to divest from his businesses, but he can still advise and manage, and Vivek can just run the show through the government. I mean, if he thought about it for half a second, it would make sense to him. But again, that's not what they're in the business of doing. They're in the business of trying to give a biased and dishonest spin on perfectly reasonable information. And then for him to just declare in his voice that Elon Musk is going to fail at this task. Again, what would make you believe that? What would make you think that the guy who invented online payments and then parlayed that into revolutionizing electric cars, and then also is the first person to shoot a rocket into space and then have it come back down to Earth and catch it, can't at least help make the government more efficient? These are the same people who said that running Twitter was going to be too hard, too difficult for Elon Musk. Like, these people who are not credentialed in any way, have no business experience, have no real successes in their life, are just declaring confidently that the world's most successful entrepreneur is going to fail. He certainly didn't fail when he backed Trump as a candidate. If you really take a look at everything that Elon Musk touches, it doesn't fail. So again, if you were a reasonable and objective person, what evidence do you have that's pointing to the fact that Elon Musk is going to fail? It's sad because these people could just accept the loss graciously and try to be at least optimistic about the next 4 years. Instead, they're just digging their heels in the sand and refusing to budge from this sore loser mentality that they have. So Rachel Maddow, another MSNBC Democrat shill, was attacking Trump's cabinet appointments as well, and saying how Trump historically is actually one of the worst, if not the worst, U.S. president ever. Watch.
I mean, it was a sign that even right up to the very bitter and ultimately very violent end of Trump's term in office, things were just bad. It It was a bad presidential term. It is not normal to have a half dozen members of the cabinet referred for potential criminal prosecution for crimes they allegedly committed while they were serving in the cabinet. It's not normal. I mean, that's the kind of thing that gets you listed repeatedly as the worst or among the worst ever presidents in U.S. history when presidential historians and scholars are surveyed about these things, right? This is why Trump is considered by experts in the field to be, if not the worst, then certainly one of the worst presidents in the history of the United States. I'm sorry, Warren G. Harding. It just wasn't good.
Well, you know what, Rachel? If Trump is the worst president ever and blew out your candidate, what does that say about her? See, people like this never understand the hypocrisy and the smack to their own face that their words expose. If I beat you and you tell me that I'm the dumbest person in the world, what does that make you? What does that make you? Because you lost. I clearly am better than you, at least. So what does that make you? And finally, here is the leader of the Progressive Caucus, basically the queen of all liberals in the Democratic Party, with the most out of touch, ridiculous comment that they can make after losing the election. Watch.
When Donald Trump was most unpopular was around that Trump tax scam, because people knew that the majority of those benefits went to the wealthiest.
But a lot of those benefits went to a lot of those benefits, and the truth of it is, a lot of those benefits went to the middle class. When people were going through their tax returns, they saw a benefit in their tax returns. It wasn't as good as the one the rich were seeing, but a lot of people in the middle class did see. There have been stories on this. Did see a bump in their tax returns. But I want to ask you about the ecosystem for a second.
Well, I have to push back on that, Katie, because the vast majority of those benefits went to the wealthiest top.
I'm not arguing with that. You're absolutely right about that. 100%. But people did see
but I don't want to
a
compare
better
crumbs
return.
and gold bars, right? I don't want to compare crumbs and make it seem like they're the same as gold bars.
No, I'm not
so
doing that.
So maybe you got groceries for 8 weeks, but did you actually get money that would help your family succeed? No, I don't think that's true.
If Trump's tax cuts saved families enough money to buy groceries for 8 weeks, that is a huge win. It is these out-of-touch, elitist people that don't understand that a regular American family saving 8 weeks worth of groceries is a big deal to these people. That is breathing room. That is enough to spread those savings out across the year, and it actually makes a difference in the hardships that they're facing. But to them, I mean, they're rich, they're powerful. That doesn't mean anything to them. So they assume it means nothing to everybody else. And that is why they lost, because they are out of touch and unaware of the plights of regular working Americans. But you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is this desperation from the liberal media not just some of the funniest stuff that we're seeing on a daily basis? If you guys didn't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you guys in the next one.